Hi class, this is Jerry. In this series of videos I'm going to take you step by step through each of the projects and show you pretty much everything you'll need to know in order to do the project well and successfully. In this first project it's all about just laying a dot out and putting it in a graphic space in a frame and ascribing a adjective to it. There's a link in the syllabus in the projects that takes you out to 729, I think, adjectives. Okay, so let's get started. Using Photoshop CS3 here, but the principle is the same on any image editing program that you may be using. We start with nothing here, and we have to put a blank piece of paper out to start the process. So let's get going. Say File, New, and the first step is to ascribe a size. What size paper are you buying in the art store? 8.5 by 11, 18 by 24. So to keep things simple and manageable here for our online class, we're going to keep our file sizes down. I'm using a background resolution of 72 pixels per inch on all the projects for this class because we're posting them online rather than committing them to print. And roughly 6, 7, 8 inches is a good size. So for this first project I'm going to start with a width of 6 inches. Your program may be set to pixels or points or picas. Just click inches here. Turn this to 6. Make your height 7. That'll give us room for our adjective. I'm going to leave it in grayscale for now and start out with a white background and click OK. Alright, our first tool I want to show you is the Marquee Tool. In Photoshop, when you see a little triangle next to a tool, that means there are tools under that tool. When you click and hold, you'll notice that I have over here a rectangle marquee tool, elliptical, and single row marquees. I want to start out by creating a rectangle to put our dot in on the background layer. So I'm going to click and drag. That's your first sort of skill to learn if you don't know how to do that already. And that means I click in the upper left and I drag holding the mouse button down diagonally to the right and then let go of the mouse button. Now what I have here is called a selection. The area inside these marching ants are the areas that get edited or changed. The areas outside of the selection do not. I have a paint bucket here and it dumps whatever my foreground color, which happens to be black here, into whatever is selected. If I move the bucket over here, notice what it does. When I want to undo something, I can either say Edit, Undo Paint Bucket. I'll dump it again. And I used Control Z for zebra, Control Z. I hold my pinky on the Control key and then hit Z. Alright. So in this case what we're going to do is put a black line here. So that's, in Photoshop, it's called stroke in every other program that I know about. And that's under the Edit command. Edit menu here. So edit, stroke right here. And it's asking, do we want to center the stroke, put it on the inside or on the outside of our marquee here? And how wide in pixels shall it be? Because of our somewhat low resolution, 3 is plenty. I'm going to say OK to that. And then deselect. And that two ways to do that is select, deselect, or to use the shortcut, which is Control D here. Okay. Next, I want to put a small dot, in this case, on a new layer. The reason I want to put it on its own layer, I'm going to click the Layers tab here. Notice we have just one background layer and there's a lock on it. That means I can't move anything on it. And even if I unlocked it, I would move the dot and the frame both at the same time. Not a good thing. So I'm going to click a new layer, which is this little tab right here. Create a new layer, so click that, and that'll be for my dot. I'll hide this so I can, because I'm working in a small 640 by 480 frame here, keeps things a little tidier. Okay, under the rectangle marquee is the elliptical marquee tool. Now when you click and drag this tool, notice that it can create ellipses and circles, big ones, small ones, just by clicking and holding and dragging it. If I hold down the Shift key, it constrains it to a perfect circle. See that? Okay. So I'm just going to take a small dot here. Perfect circle, make your first project perfect circles, and the next one too, project 2. And take the bucket tool and dump black right in it. Just like that. And deselect, Control D. Next tool I'm going to show you over on the Tools palette is this Move tool, right next to the elliptical marquee tool. When I click that, and I have Auto Select On here, right up here, I can click on the dot directly and move it anywhere I want. That's kind of important. So that's what I'm going to do, stick it down here. And notice how this dot relates to the rest of this space that I've defined. And if you looked at the list of adjectives, I'm sure you could see some adjectives that might intuitively describe in your mind what's going on here with this poor little dot. So I have something in mind. I'm going to click the next tool, which is the Type tool, and that's the letter T here. And that creates a new layer also. It's a type layer. Once I start typing over here, you see it says Layer 2, Type Layer. I've chosen Arial font and 48 points here. That's the size. You're used to setting up that in Word probably. I'm going to call this Lonely. And to set my my type in, I don't have the usual check mark because I'm working on a smaller frame, but another thing that works well is to just click on the Move tool. And that allows you then to click on the word and move it where you want. You can zoom out just a little bit to see how everything's looking. I'm going to get rid of the layers here. Great. So finally, as a last thing, is to flatten these layers together. Let me show you that. I'll bring these back out here. And we go Layer, Flatten Image, which is just off the screen here. And that takes everything down to one layer, so nothing will move now. And if I try to, I get an error message saying that it's locked. And the final thing is to save it. File, Save As, and name it something appropriate, and put it where you know where it's going to go. And next, make sure you save it as a JPEG. That's JPG. That's the file format that you want. And then upload it to PhotoThing, and it'll also post to your blog post. And that's it. So see you in the next movie for Project 2.